Peter, good morning. Thank you so much for coming to our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Peter. Peter is another one of our classmates from the AI class at Senior Planet.
And he is very active, responding all to the Google question or the instructor's email. You are adding so much content in your response that you're sharing with us.
Well, the Explore AI class is actually quite interesting, and I was a little bit aware of what AI has been doing, but this is more like a comprehensive overview. And especially I like the Chatgpt, so I'm using Chatgpt to do some of my personal projects. So yeah, I'm thinking of actually signing up for the Chatgpt for the upgrade version. Yeah, that's how good I think it is.
What is your project, may I ask?
Well, it's not something specific, but I recently enrolled in a book discussion project. The book is called Happiness Falls by fairly new author, NY Kim. This is her second book. And so without even reading the book, I was thinking of using ChatGPT to help me fully understand the outline of the book. And so I did a set of 40 prompts. As I said, without knowing anything about the book, at the end of the 40 prompts, I think I kind of know a lot more about the plot, the characters, and so on. Now I will have to read the book and then see whether or not ChatGPT did a good job in
Interesting.
That was very interesting, not even reading the book.
Yes. The whole point of, the way I see what the AI is doing is, it's more like a super brain. So whatever you throw at it, it will come back with tons of things. Now, its ability to conceptualize, to summarize is unknown to me. I don't know how good it is. So unless I have some set of data that I can relate to, I wouldn't know whether or not it is talking gibberish or whether or not it is just making a lot of sense.
I see.
So it is an experiment. And of course, conceptually, you can use this method in many, many different ways as well. Not just to do a book project or asking simple questions.
I think that's a good way of even fact checking. Like you're gonna read the book, you see what ChatGPT does, which I've used also, and also you'll verify it now by reading the book and see how close the responses.
Yeah, well, it is a long way from really checking its ability, because, as I said, it is a super brain. So in many different ways, it is far superior to human beings in terms of response and high-level summary. So unless you really know something specific, it is very hard to catch it in the act. Already, I noticed one minor detail in the book. There are three siblings, Maya and John, and then Eugene. For some reason, I think ChatGPT thought Maya and John, of course they are related, but they are different in age. But then in the first few pages of the book, I already saw that Maya was kind of like introspectively thinking about herself, right? And one of the sentence was that my twin brother, John. Now, yeah. So that to me is like, it's not obviously a typo or something, but it could be a material difference there between what I saw from ChatGPT's summary and from the book itself. So
using the AI in such a profound and detailed way, like I haven't really started using that much, and I don't know if I should upgrade to Premiere because I don't use it that well.
Yeah, we're just using it, preliminary,
Right. We're just...
You're doing it at a more advanced level. But that's a very interesting way of using it.
Yeah.
So, Peter, you came to this country in 1972?
71. When I was 19,
As a student.
as a student, I came here to study. Essentially, from that point on, I studied full-time for 7 years, and then I worked for 40 plus years. So that's my life story.
You were planning to stay here after the education?
When I first came here, yes, there is no promise or no path to stay here. But after I finished my formal study, I got a Master's of Science from the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Applied Math. And then I was able to land a job in New York City. And then one thing led to another. When I started working in 1978, I worked for a company called Anistics, which is a shorthand for analytical statistics.
Wow.
It is in the risk management business, and it is a subsidiary of an reinsurance company called Alexander and Alexander. And at the time, they were contacted by Gulf Western Corporation to do a risk premium model. So I guess I was a newbie, right? So, but my specialty was in modeling and data analysis. So I was put to work on this. The project started in August, and I don't know what the exact timetable was, but in October, we landed the contract. So obviously, the premium model helped the company to work with the client. And then they wanted to sponsor me for my green card. So one thing led to another. So within a year, I was able to get my green card.
Company sponsored.
Fast track, yeah.
Yes. So definitely not planned.
But you were kept here by the...
You had a lot to offer.
Right.
They saw, you know, they don't want to lose
talent.
your talent.
Yeah, so it is mutually beneficial. Now, of course, by that time, I would have been in the country for 8 years. And yes, United States is a very, very attractive country. So obviously, I would be happy to stay.
See. During that time, you were able to go back and forth to visit Hong Kong?
I did go back to Hong Kong in the summer of 72 after the first year. But then afterwards, I didn't go back until 1979 after my status has been confirmed. It is a little bit tricky if you leave the country without a clear visa or status.
Right.
Because what happens is, even if you were to leave the country for a few months and then come back to say, coming back to finish my study or whatever it is, you could be denied access. So I didn't want to go through that.
Want to take the risk.
Yeah, take that risk. And a funny thing is, so in March of 1979, after my employment permit was granted by the New York State in connection with my application, I did go back to Hong Kong, and I flew via, the Japan. I flew the line. It's a little bit interesting because I had to travel through Naha in Japan.
Naha, Okinawa.
Okinawa, yeah.
Right.
So it was a charter plane. So we landed in Naha. The jet was fully fueled, but on taking off, the left engine caught fire.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So the pilot had to dump all the fuels
Okay.
into the bay.
Oh,
Oh.
goodness.
And then when we landed, the whole plane was covered in foam. Now, that episode actually could be the end of a person like me.
Yeah, somebody who's like phobic, you know.
Part of the reason is maybe, this was in 79, right? So it was a charter plane. So it was run by a company called TIA, Transatlantic international airline, and it may not be very, very up to the line, the model airplane. So I have to say I was very lucky.
To be
Together
alive.
with
Yeah, that was a close call.
another 330 people. Yeah. And as a result, we actually stayed in Naha for a few days.
Oh.
Eventually, they couldn't repair the plane, so we had to fly JAL to Tokyo Narita Airport, and then from there back to Hong Kong. So, it was a detour.
It was nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't really go back to Hong Kong that many times. Recently I actually did a calculation of the 50 plus years I have been out of Hong Kong. In the first decade or two, I didn't really go back that often, but overall, on average, I maybe went back once every 2 years.
It's a long flight too.
Yeah, it was a long flight. Of course, right now, if you flew over the North Pole, it's about 16 plus hours. Whereas
Direct.
Direct.
Okay.
Whereas before, it might be a little bit over 20.
Right, because of the stopover.
Typically, the stopover is at Narita Airport in Tokyo. Yeah. So yeah.
That's. I just still find it. I don't know if I would want to travel again.
Yeah.
No, that's the risk that you take,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
I mean, of course, people say that if you drive on the highways or whatever it is, the
That's
risk
what
is
they say.
greater.
Yeah, or you can even if you cross the street, you could get hit by a
Yes.
car and die.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, so risk is everywhere.
That's true. That's very true.
But in the United States, you stayed in New Hampshire, North Carolina, and New York.
Yeah.
And do you like New York the best?
Well, the New York that you refer to was in upstate New York,
Oh,
Troy.
upstate,
Yeah.
Right.
And when I started working, it was in New York City.
Mm.
Yes, I kind of like all three states. All began with N. And right now I live in New Hyde Park in the Nassau County in New York State. So for some reason,
You're lucky.
the
Initial is N.
initial N has a lot to do with where I stay.
Okay.
But yeah, New York City is a great city.
See.
I mean, obviously during the COVID-19 era, there were a lot of things that were quite unsettling, especially the public transportation, the public safety
Yes.
aspect. Yeah. So, which is unfortunate, but yeah, otherwise it's a great city.
So, but under normal circumstances, what do you love about being in New York City?
Well, it is large enough to have almost everything, if not everything. And it is, at least with the infrastructure, even though it may not be the best, it is still relatively efficient. And you can go to anywhere you like. I'm talking about the Long Island Railroad, the subway, the buses, and the Metro North, and also the connection with the New Jersey Transit and the Amtrak. So it is a very convenient hub to get to many places. Of course, if you come to the Manhattan area, then it becomes very easy. I mean, you can add in the Uber, the taxi cab, or whatever it is. But I tend to rely on the subway and the buses more so because to me it is very, very affordable and easy access.
Yeah, you can get from point A to point B, and if you need to go, point C.
Yes.
Right. Do you drive at all?
Yes. I mean, I live in Long Island, so yeah, without a car, it would be a little bit difficult to access.
It's a little difficult where he's at.
Suburb.
It's a beautiful area, but
Yeah. So, to the mall, to the movie theaters, to the restaurants, easily it would be like over 2 miles to 10 miles away. So, I mean,
it's not an easy walk
Right.
for everybody,
yeah.
I see.
especially in the wintertime.
Yep.
We are doing Aging with Grace and Purpose. So we are interviewing energetic seniors who are acting very energetic and purposeful senior life.
Uh-huh.
And I saw you taking some classes. Aside from AI, you were in Canva class
Yeah.
And you had so many questions to Elvis, our instructor. It was almost like a one-on-one. So,
Well, Canva turned out to be another good app. So, obviously, I have never even heard of Canva before I took the class. So I was curious. Yeah.
yes, I use Canva a lot for a podcast.
Uh-huh.
This podcast is giving me the learning experience. So,
Yeah, I see they have stuff for the podcast. I was using it mostly for my my photo collages and making simple cards. But you can be very creative with that Canva. I'll probably take it over again because I want to learn some more
it's
about
very
it.
good. Yeah. So, do you think there's a misconception about aging?
Well, I mean, a lot of people have things to say about aging, right? But then the unspoken word behind aging is death. So aging is prelude to death. So a lot of misconception is a lot of people think the two may be conflated. But of course, it is a process. Death is inevitable. Aging is on the way there, but it doesn't mean that you have to wait and sit and wait for death to come. That may be a misconception right then and there. I mean, in essence, when you are alive, no matter whether you're young or old, you have to be energetic. You have to be purposeful, because otherwise, it's no different from not being alive.
Right.
So it's almost like a fallacy to say, oh, I can relax because I'm getting older. Yes, you can relax, but not for the right reason. You can relax because you may not be able to do more strenuous stuff, to be too active. But clearly, you have to do something.
Do you think you are happier now compared with when you were younger, 20, 30, 40,
Well,
50?
when I look back, after finishing up school, I then started a career for 40 plus years. So that question about whether or not you are happier now or then or whatever has to be looked at through the prism of what I have been doing in the past 50 years, basically. So when you were working, you really cannot say you are happy or not, because you are constantly under challenge, under pressure. You have to deliver projects. There are assignments, there are papers to write, and so on. So, of course, at the same time, I raise a family, get married, 2 kids, and so on. So, yeah, I mean, life is sort of like in balance. I think I'm content. I'm not extremely happy in the sense that I'm euphoric about anything, but I think I kind of try to make it in balance between the work and life. So, kind of take the middle way.
I have one question. Well, I'm more into the exercise and the walking, so I have to ask a question about that. So, are you active? Say you go to the gym, and do your physical activities help you stay sharp? And does it keep you youthful and curious as you navigate on this journey you're going on?
Yeah. So when I was working, I actually enrolled in a gym membership. The sad part is after the membership ends in 1 year, I realized that even though the gym was right in the same building where I worked, I've been going there for only 3 times. So clearly, going to the gym is not for me. So right now, my exercise is basically through walking, and I can walk fast or slow, and I don't want to run because I'm fearful of stumbling or falling. So my workout is limited to maybe 5,000 to 10,000 steps.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Wow. Every day?
That's what's recommended.
Yeah.
They say minimum 7,000 steps, which I try to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also up to 10,000 or more if you could.
Yeah.
And walking is a very, very, very good form of exercise, which you could do anywhere.
Yeah. So sometimes when I travel, I would deliberately choose walking a lot. For example, one time I went to Charleston, South Carolina, and I realized that on that particular day, because Charleston is a city where you can really walk a lot.
That's a walking city, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I walked a lot of steps.
You probably don't even realize it.
Yeah. Well, thank God I have a step app on my cell phone, right? So you can tell, how many steps you have taken.
This is your analytical self looking at it.
I see. So, Peter, you like music or movies?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like music, but very particular about the kind of music because I grew up in the 60s. So I like music from basically 1964 to maybe 1980. So around that time. So I would like to listen to the Billboard 100 or 200 songs during that era. So that would be my choice. Right now I subscribe to Spotify, and you can actually tweak your playlist in that way.
Yeah, favorite playlist.
I like movies a lot. So ever since I retired in April of 2018, I signed up for the AMC. It is a movie enrollment system. You can watch 3 movies a week for about $25 a month.
In the theater?
Inside the theater, yeah. So it translates to something like 12 movies a month if you don't skip any of the weeks.
Wow.
So
good deal.
Yeah, it is a good deal, yeah.
Can you recommend some movies that you saw that you liked?
Well, I have seen so many. I mean...
Any favorites?
Or
you can't name them.
Well, I mean, the Fabulous Four that I saw maybe a week or so ago is good. And I saw Deadpool and the Wolverine twice.
Okay.
But it was a strange movie. I mean, so...
That's the new movie
Yes,
out,
yes. But all the movies are first run because on Fridays, the new movies will come out. Now, I'm looking forward to see the new movie on Reagan. I think it is August 30th. It's coming out, the biography.
Yes. That should be very interesting.
Yeah. But I tend to like movies like, by certain actors or actresses, right? I mean, John Wick, 1, 2, 3, 4, if the 5 came out, I would see it. Mission Impossible, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm waiting for
I like the Mission Impossible,
I'm waiting for number 8 in 2025. So, and then of course the James Bond.
Of course,
series.
1 through 26.
So you complete the series.
Yes, yes. Not just once.
But Hong Kong has the movie industry that was really blossomed in 70s.
Okay, yeah, that I wouldn't know because, as I said, after retirement, I went to see movies. Before retirement, there is basically no time to see movies.
Too busy.
Yeah.
See.
And then I think the A-list by AMC came out around that time, so it was good. It was good.
Yeah, he's getting his movie fill.
Yeah.
3 movies, not too much.
Per week.
Yeah, per week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is with AMC, the app, each movie you have watched, they actually kept a record, so you can go
so you
back.
Can track what you watched.
That's very good.
Yeah. And they have 600 movie theaters all over the States. And I can, with my membership, I can go to any state that has AMC theaters and, can sign up for the reservation.
Can you take a guest and go?
No, it's
individual.
Per individual, yeah. I mean, you can, if you want to go with a guest, then you have to buy a separate ticket for the guest.
Do you have any places you want to go to, travel, now that you have free time?
Well, I have been traveling especially in the last 20 years or so. So when I first started working, in the first 20 years, I only travel for company business.
Yeah, business travel, yeah.
Yeah, but then beginning with the 2000s, I started to travel more frequently. So I think the big travel was in 2005. I had a 15-day tour of Europe, all over.
Nice.
20 cities in 15 days. You can imagine
Wow.
how
Did you
crazy.
make your own itinerary?
No. I joined a group.
Oh, I see.
So a tour, yeah. And then I flew back to Hong Kong and China, as I said, once a year or maybe sometimes twice a year, depending on the occasion, to attend the high school reunion gatherings and weddings and so forth. And then in 2008, I went to Moscow, and 2009, Greece, 2010, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, and so on. So
Every year you
Yeah.
complete the
That's
area.
good.
yeah,
Okay, you've
So-
done
so-
extensive traveling.
yeah, precisely, yeah. But and then during my work with S&P Global from 2001 to 2018, beginning in 2011, I almost would go to London once a year or twice a year.
Yeah.
On
for
the-
London's
job.
nice.
yeah,
I like
for
London.
business purposes, because I work in the commodities index business. So there was a lot of demand for that kind of index product. So so now I'm thinking about, do I really want to travel that much? The answer is depends, because now that getting older, you have to be more careful when you travel, because if anything happens, then you are all alone. I don't care whether you have medical travel insurance or whatever. It doesn't matter, because any accident, any personal accident could be catastrophic.
True.
Yeah.
When you go on a trip, foreign country, for example, do you go alone or do you take your wife or the
Well,
friends?
my wife doesn't like to travel, so I always go alone or travel with
Group.
groups. Yeah. And if it is going back to Hong Kong, then I would not join a group, because I would then just buy the ticket, because I to me Hong Kong is like
Going home.
going home, right? Even though I've been out
He
there,
already knows Hong Kong. He doesn't need a tour group.
Right.
but 50 years, Hong Kong has changed so much, so it's
There's
worthwhile.
I'm sure there's something new going on there.
Yeah.
Do you see a big change after it was returned to China?
Well, the first time I went to China was in 1993. I want to see the Three Gorges Dam when it was being built. And then I went back a few times. I think I went back a total of maybe 4 or 5 times, not that many. China in the mid-90s was still fairly backward, because the reform started in 1978. But I think it started to grow geometrically since the 2000s, since it joined the WTO. And when I went to Shanghai in 2016, it's totally comparable to any of the European cities, London, New York, Paris, or whatever, if not better. So it is amazing.
I went to Shanghai in 2017 for a stopover in band. That was
Yeah.
really advanced
Yeah, the Boon, right? It's
by the river.
by the river. Yeah, the one yellow. I mean, I don't know whether it's the Yellow River. Yeah, no, yeah, or Yangtze River.
Yangtze,
Yeah. Well, in that sense, the Boon area has been developed in the 1930s, right? But they really, literally, lifted up again and preserve a lot of the traditional buildings.
Right. You're one of the 8 children or 9 children. You're the only boy.
Yeah.
How did that affect your upbringing?
That
or-
must have been interesting.
I think my parents wanted to. I mean, I was second, so my elder sister, me, and then after me, I think they wanted to have another boy, but then they bet wrong. So 6 in a row, all girls.
The statistics was not in their favor.
So when my youngest sister, Annie, was born, I think they call it quits. I think Annie was born in 1960, so she was 12 years younger.
Isn't it being a boy have something special in the family? Like in Japan, the firstborn son, he inherits everything. Like
Well, not from an inheritance standpoint, but clearly, yes, I was treated special, and for that I have to apologize to all my sisters.
you're close with them, all of them.
No, because meaning I took something away from them.
You know, educational wise, they
see.
Everything is for the male.
'Cause sending you to Dartmouth or Duke for them must be a huge investment, right?
Well, fortunately, I was able to get a scholarship. So I went to Dartmouth on a scholarship. And at that time, the reason why is the higher education was trying to attract more foreign students, international students. So that was helpful. You know, remember in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, and in 1965, there was a big immigration reform. So even though there was the Vietnam War fighting in the 60s, I think overall America is getting more open to the world.
You've seen so many changes while you were living in the United States. What do you think is the most memorable?
Well, I think by and large the whole country is getting more liberal and progressive. Unfortunately, where I am situated, I basically spend most of the time on the East Coast and work 40 plus years in New York City. So my perspective was actually quite limited. So I wouldn't be able to know what happens in the mid America or even the southwest, you know. So, but you know, reading the papers, watching the TV, yes, the country on the whole has changed a lot, and now we have women running for president. I mean, can you imagine what you would mean 50 years ago?
That wasn't unheard of.
Yeah.
Right. I thought Hillary would be the president
Yeah.
last time.
So 2016 was the first
Yeah.
chance, yeah. But then because of the electoral system, right? So
Right.
popular vote doesn't translate into
Right.
the
She had the
electoral
popular
votes.
vote, but she might have a chance, you know.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
We'll see.
Oh,
No, these are
I
the
see.
U.S. elections, you know, for
She's-
presidential elections.
I think
So-
her running mate
Yeah.
seems pretty popular.
Yeah. I mean, very folksy. I mean, I saw him on TV a couple of days ago, and he is very humble and
Down to earth,
I think
Yeah.
he's relatable because he was a teacher and I think
coach.
a coach. People can relate to that, especially in the Midwest.
yes, yes. I mean, when you compare that with other styles, it's like so different.
He comes humble, like you said. He's not abrupt, you know, not callous. And people can relate to that because you're coming off like an honest, a truthful
Uh-huh.
person. And that's what we need now. Honesty.
Right.
Yep.
And he put out the word weird onto the stage.
So yes, I mean, you have to be a good market researcher or psychologist to drop those words, not constantly, because then people would get turned off, but judiciously. At the right time, you need to remember who you are and compare with who your opponents are. So I don't know. I mean, the next 4 years hangs in the balance because I think as it is, the two sides are quite close. So
Yeah.
talking about movies, one of the movies called Civil War actually might address this controversy here, right? Meaning that the country it's getting divided because the two
That's
sides are
true.
so
Yeah,
close.
it is divided. Yeah.
So when the movie came out in April, I went to see it. I mean, unfortunately, it really doesn't address the central issue, which I can understand because it could be quite sensitive. So it's a good movie still.
We have the same question that we ask all the guests,
Hmm.
and Debbie delivers the question.
My favorite question, which hopefully you had time to look at, the last question
Oh,
on your list, on your written list you have there.
yeah.
Please imagine that you are Maria Antoinette. The night before the execution by guillotine, angels appeared, offered you a last meal. Any dish or food that you loved, what would that be?
Well, in my case, the answer could be fairly simple. Born and raised in Hong Kong for 19 years, right? So I was subject to Chinese food. So within the Chinese food world universe, there are all kinds of delicacies. So I wouldn't even know which one I like. I would imagine, under the circumstances, when I'm supposed to be beheaded the next day, I wouldn't wish for any particular food, but just some comfort food, something very simple.
Comfort food. What would be your comfort food?
Well, in Hong Kong, the wonton noodle is actually quite good. So that might be a good choice.
I see.
But there are, as I said, there are thousands of choices.
Yeah, you don't want nothing too elaborate on your last day.
Right.
Precisely. In fact, I would turn it around and ask the angel, why don't you airlift me out?
To save
Instead
me.
of
Save
giving me a meal.
Save meal. Don't give me a meal. Save me. Give me a second chance.
Right. Just want to know the Chinese food in this country. Is it different from the authentic Chinese food that you think of?
Well, when I first came to New York City in 1971, I would say that is a true statement, meaning that the Chinese food in America is American Chinese food. But nowadays, especially after 2000, the quality of Chinese food has increased a great deal. Now, having said that, if you go to Vancouver, I mean on the West Coast, right? Seattle, Vancouver, Toronto, or San Francisco, the quality of Chinese foods there are pretty good. Maybe even as early as the 70s or 80s.
Wow.
But then it changed in a wholesale way because of the fear that that Hong Kong is going to revert to China in 1997. Many people started to move to North America beginning in the 90s. And together with the influx were a lot of the talents in the restaurant business. So they brought a lot of skills and expertise to the industry.
They mainly went to the West Coast.
Because weather on the West Coast typically is better, right? First of all, the first time I saw snow was in November of 1971 when I was in Hanover, New Hampshire. First time. You never saw snow in Hong Kong.
Never snows in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I know in Japan it snows.
It snows.
Yeah, in Japan, they do.
In
Yeah.
Okinawa, it doesn't snow, but other
I
parts.
was kind of surprised because my mother was telling me, when I mentioned it, I said, yeah, I see it. I see people skiing in Japan.
Yeah. So, but nowadays, there are 3 Chinatowns in New York City. One is in the Manhattan, Canal Street. The other one is in Brooklyn, 8th Avenue. And the third one, and the largest one, is in Flushing, Main
Queens.
Street.
Where my parents live, yeah.
Yeah. And there you have a lot of choices. I mean, it's getting better and better, and more expensive, of course.
Really?
Yeah, my girlfriend wants me to try out some place there that she recommended, some hot pot place.
But Chinese food, you have to go in a group, right, to enjoy it because.
It depends. If you go by yourself, you have different kind of choices. But yeah, typically like 4 or 6 people. Not too many because they don't have good tables for 10, right?
And remember the
I think a
turning
small
table in the
group is
middle.
better, I think.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a little more intimate. You can converse with everybody while you're cooking your hot pie.
Yeah.
For example,
Now, if you want to go in a big group, then you go to a wedding where they may have 20, 30 tables of 10, right? So 200 to 300 people. Then it is a different kind of atmosphere.
Right. So we started to become hungry.
I like talking about food. Food, exercise, and traveling.
So Peter, I think we'll see you again at Senior Planet.
I'm
Yes.
sure we'll bump into you. And now that we got to know you a little
Okay,
better,
all right, yes.
hopefully we'll see you in class or in passing.
Okay.
Or maybe we can do lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
Or at the graduation.
Oh, yes, the graduation. Yes, next month.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So thank you very much for having this conversation with us.
It was so
Not
nice
just about
of you.
aging, but just learning about yourself.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.